Did you call bank? I called game.
What's up, Pack Nation? It is Pack here, and in today's video, I am doing a top 5 list of 5 teams that could possibly sneak into the playoffs, according to NBA 2K20. Now, these teams are only teams that did not make the playoffs last year. So they're the teams that maybe didn't make the playoffs last year, but according to 2K20, they could totally sneak in. There were 3 ways I determined whether or not you could make the playoffs in 2K20. First, I simulated a season with injuries on, trades on, and free agents on, and I determined which teams' way the playoffs would make the list. Then I did a simulation where I turned all those off and see what would happen. And then finally, and the most important version, I got the best 5 players of every single team and I averaged them out, and the higher rating you had, the higher your chances of making the playoffs were. Now, I get that not every team is only their best 5 players, but just for the video, I think it's a pretty good estimation of how good your talent is for the 5 most important players on the team, right? Before this video starts, be an OG, join the Pack Nation, and subscribe. Let's get this video started. At number 5, it is the Hornets. Well, time to throw away the video. Okay, so the Hornets made the playoffs. Not in the average rating system, but the simulation. Let's take a step back and let me show you guys the simulation itself. So not only did the team make the playoffs, but they freaking got the 6th seed playing against the Detroit Pistons on the 3rd seed. Let's see what's going on here. So first of all, the Hornets end up with a 39-43 record, so they don't even end up with a 500 record and still somehow become the 6th seed. That's a problem, but let's keep going. Not only that, but their leading scorer isn't even a player that's on their team. It's Jamal Crawford. Jamal Crawford's not even on the Hornets. They picked him up free agency, and he averages 15 points per game for the Hornets. No one passes 15 points per game. They still become a 6th seed in the playoffs. That's so stupid, right? Miles Bridges and Terry Rozier expect to have pretty solid seasons for the Hornets, both averaging 5 rebounds a game. Terry Rozier, Scary Terry, averaging 5 assists a game on pretty bad field goal percentage by literally everyone besides Nicholas Batum, who, by the way, is injured, and I guess Willie Hernangomez, but he's a center, so you expect good percentage. I mean, there's a lot of players that average at least 10 points per game, and even close to it, like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 players almost average 10 a game. That's crazy. So I mean, I guess this is more of like, this was perfect coaching and great team basketball is the only reason they made the playoffs, but there's no way this is happening, guys. I'm sorry. I mean, their best player is maybe Terry Rozier, who's a 78 overall. Rating wise, they were the worst team in the NBA and arguably maybe the worst team in NBA history. Like, this could totally happen. So no, they're not making the playoffs. According to 2K, they are, but guys, they're not making the playoffs. Now, the next team at number 4 that made the playoffs that probably shouldn't have is the Knicks. And you know what, man? Even though they're not as bad as the Hornets, they're also not going to make the playoffs. Sorry, guys. Listen, I love the Knicks. They're my favorite team, but they're not making the playoffs. Let me explain why, right? So they have a seed in 2K20. Let's see how they made the playoffs. So first, they make the NBA playoffs with a 37-45 record. Again, not a 500 record, and they barely beat the Hawks to that. And they tied the Pacers for a seed or 7th seed, right? Let's see the players' stats to see why they made the playoffs, right? So their best player, of course, is Julius Randle, 83 overall, who gets almost 19 points per game, 8 rebounds. Do you want to know my opinion? Julius Randle is going to average more than that. Well, I'm talking, I expect him to get like 25 a game. Last year, he was getting, 21.4 points per game as a second option, not even playing a lot of minutes. Like, I think he was playing, 30 minutes a game? He's going to be playing like 36 to 40 minutes a game with the Knicks. Like, a lot of minutes with the Knicks because he's like their only solid player that they know they can score. So he's going to average even more points, in my opinion. But they have Dennis Smith Jr. getting 16 a game, which I can see because he's probably going to be the primary ball handler. RJ Barrett, they expect to have a pretty good season for a rookie, which I wouldn't be surprised. On an awful field goal percentage, I absolutely expect that too. Bobby Portis is good, we know he can. Marcus Morris is good, we know he can. Elfrid Payton is injured, but he also has an okay season as a backup point guard. Kevin Knox does worse than last year, but still. Somehow they picked up Langston Galloway again, and then Mitchell Robinson, who I think is going to have a great year with 7 points, almost 9 rebounds, 2 blocks a game, which he might even get more than that. He was averaging 2.4 blocks a game last year. He might get even more this year. I mean, there's talent here. It's a lot of young talent. I just don't think it's enough to make the playoffs in the East. Even though the East isn't like amazing, I don't think the Knicks have enough. This is the only way this happens is if Julius Randle has a stupid good season, like a 25 point per game season. Dennis Smith Jr. also ends up just going off for some reason, like the player we think he can be. RJ Barrett has Rookie of the Year numbers, which might not happen. Bobby Portis and Marcus Morris do okay. Elfrid Payton becomes a great backup. Kevin Knox blows up finally, which might happen. Who knows? And then Mitchell Robinson becomes one of the best centers in the NBA. If all those things happen, maybe there's a chance. But that's a lot of maybe. Like, there's so much maybe. Even if one of those things happened, I'd be like happy because of the Knicks fan. There's almost no way all those things happen though, and that's why I don't think the Knicks will make the playoffs either. But 2K thinks they just might make a seed. The next team at number 3 is interesting. It is the Phoenix Suns. So even though the Phoenix Suns had one of the worst average ratings for the West, they had one of the better average ratings in the NBA. They had like middle ground. So if that's the case, why do they think the Phoenix Suns will make the playoffs? The Phoenix Suns made the playoffs twice. They made it in the normal simulation, and they also made it into the no injuries, no trades simulation as well. They made it twice. Why is that going to happen? Let's check it out, right? So this one is with the no injuries simulation. They make 7th seed, behind the Nuggets by a lot, but ahead of the Jazz by a little bit, okay? Let's see why. So they expect Devin Booker to have a stupid season, like a 30-point per game season, which is, oh my gosh, on good field goal percentage. DeAndre Ayton, a worse season than last year, but I mean, I think he honestly, in my opinion, is going to have a better season this year, but we'll see. He's so good. They're going to pick up Frank Kaminsky for some reason, Chris Dunn for some reason. Michael Bridges averages 10 a game. Kelly Oubre does good. Darius Saric does okay. Like, I don't see anything that makes me go, oh my gosh, if like they have all this talent, they're going to make the playoffs. But if Devin Booker really has that stupid season like they think he will, and if DeAndre Ayton really can come up and be that guy, and I know Ricky Rubio's on his team, I don't know why he's not being shown here, but if Ricky Rubio has a solid year, I get that it'd be really, really, really hard. But I think it's really going to depend on DeAndre Ayton. Devin Booker puts up the numbers. Like, we know he is a baller. We know he can do really well. I don't see why he wouldn't put up these numbers next year. But he's not young anymore. He's 23. It's time to really start, like, stepping up and scoring and being that guy and winning. And I know the West is hard and he doesn't have a stupid amount of talent on his team, but it's doable. DeAndre Ayton's going to have to step up. Like, this is going to matter a lot on DeAndre Ayton, how good he can be, but it's possible if he really steps up. But I think it's going to be really hard for the Suns to pull it off. At number 2, it is one that is totally possible. The New Orleans Pelicans. Now, they make the 8th seed here. They're going to play the Clippers in the first round. This is possible. Let's talk about this. So if you were to ask me, why would the Pelicans make the playoffs? Like, what is like the one thing that would really let them make it? It's Zion Williamson. Like, this guy is the most hyped player entering the NBA ever, even more than LeBron. Like, we expect this dude to be stupid good. He expected to average 21 points per game, almost 9 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, on pretty good field goal percentage, like really good field goal percentage for being your first year ever. They're expecting him to be already one of the best players in the NBA now, which is unrealistic, but that's what they expect. Drew Holiday is expected to have as good as a year as he always does. JJ Redick is supposed to be the sharpshooter and the honestly really good scorer that he always is, right? And Brandon Ingram is supposed to at least have a normal season as usual. Derek Favors is supposed to have a good season. Julio Okafor has also shown that he can have a good season, so we'll see if that actually happens. Lonzo Ball is still expected to have those 10 assists a game, good rebounds, and 10 points. He could totally average a triple-double. It's unrealistic, right? But he's been close. Like, what has he averaged? 7 and 7 and 10? Like, that's almost a triple-double if he really grinded for it. Like, he's stat padded for it, right? All these pieces, this young talent could fit together and really make a team. Whether or not it happens is going to depend on really Zion and low-key Brandon Ingram. I think Lonzo already does what he needs to do. Okafor's already shown that he can be a better player every year. It's Ingram that needs to really step up. JJ Redick needs to be able to be consistent even though he's 35. And Drew Holiday needs to step, like, we already know he can, so he needs to be consistent from last year. And then Zion has to have, like, the year. And if he does that, they could totally slide into the 8th seed in the West. Like, it's not impossible at all to say that. I totally believe they can do it. They have the talent. They just got to execute, and that's going to be hard, especially for Zion. And the last one is the most interesting to me. At number 1 is the Bulls. Now, the Chicago Bulls. At first, when I saw this, I was like, no, they're not going to make the playoffs. But you know what? I've gotten a lot of comments about the Bulls saying how good they are and how much talent they have and how like they could low-key be really good. And I always kind of ignored it. But I wanted to take this seriously. I was like, okay, why would they make the playoffs? Like, what do they have? Well, first they have Zach LaVine, who's good. 24 points per game last year, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. So they did not make the playoffs in any of the simulations. Any like the My League simulations, they did not make the playoffs once. But mathematically, they did. And that's all that matters when you think about it. Okay, let's put it this way. If you average your 5 best players out, they end up being the 8th seed in the East. Like, they are mathematically expected to make the playoffs over the Miami Heat and the Washington Wizards, both who have Jimmy Butler and Bradley Beal. Because of the talent on this team, they're expected to beat those players, even the Magic, to beat them to make the playoffs. Because Zach LaVine's a baller, who we know is a baller, and he averaged 24 points per game last season. That's crazy, on pretty okay field goal percentage, and he's expected to do even better this year. Lauri Markkanen, who we know is good and did even better. He came off of injury last year, came back from injury, and did even better than the season before. That's crazy. Otto Porter, who has shown to be solid. Thaddeus Young, who's always been consistently good every single year. Wendell Carter Jr., who's shown like he got better every game, to be completely honest. Kobe White, who I actually think would be a pretty good point guard in the league. We'll have to wait and see. Chris Dunn, who also has had his moments. He's a good defender for the most part. That's really it. They picked up Thomas Satoransky, who was really good with the Wizards, like really good with the Wizards. He was low-key underrated. Denzel Valentine, who could be okay, we'll see. Like, there's serious talent here. The problem is they're all really young, except for like Thaddeus Young, and Otto Porter isn't really that young anymore. I don't want to say that they're a lock for the playoffs, but mathematically they're expected to make the playoffs, and as long as they can execute, this could totally happen, and it'd be kind of fun to see. That's it for this video, you guys. Do you guys agree or disagree? Leave it in the comments below, and if you like my channel, give it a sub, and I'll see you guys next time.
Did you call bank?